Hello, and welcome to today's Wyoming Community Navigator Program webinar. We're so glad you've joined us for today's presentation, Building Business Credit Part 2, presented by Coach Starnes. My name is Mandy Bailey, the Advising and Education Director with the Wyoming Small Business Development Center, and I will be your facilitator today, working behind the scenes through the chat and question function of GoToWebinar to assist the best I can with any technical difficulties or questions you may have. Currently, all microphones are in listen-only mode in order to minimize the background noise, but feel free to type your questions into the question function of GoToWebinar so that they can be answered during our question and answer session at the end. And you may want to monitor the chat. We'll be posting helpful links and information. The webinar is being recorded, and a link will be sent out to all participants about a day after its conclusion. The Wyoming Community Navigator program is funded by the U.S. Small Business Administration and utilizes the Wyoming Entrepreneurial Support Network. To reduce barriers businesses often face, especially those owned by groups such as veteran, women, and those from rural communities and communities of color. The Wyoming Community Navigator program uses a hub and spoke model to pursue its goals, and through their collective effort, provide training and access to resources to help business owners and ultimately be the driving force behind Wyoming's economic recovery. Today's webinar, Building Business Credit Part 2, is presented by Coach Starnes. Coach Starnes is an author and publisher of Navigating the Credit Repair Maze, Top 10 Credit Repair Tips, and Save $1,000 in 120 Days. And now I'm going to turn it over to Coach Starnes.
Mandy, Nick, thanks so much for having me back. I truly appreciate you guys. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Shaterial Starnes. I'm Financial Empowerment Shaterial Starnes, and I'm your coach, and we will be talking about business credit. As you can remember, the webinar was split in two series. The first piece, or the first part of the webinar, we talked about the things that you will need to put in place before you start applying for business credit. This week, we're going to focus on, I'm going to recap those things. And I'm also providing you with a checklist so you don't have to memorize all of this information. You'll have the checklist, you can walk through it, and then we will also give you a plan of action so you will know the things that you need to do and how to go about applying for these applications. So hop right in, lean in, because I have some good information that I want to share to you. And again, if you use these tips, these checklists, and the things that I want to provide for you, I'm telling you, you will almost guarantee your chances of being approved for business credit. So again, thank you all for having me. Just want to recap. Last week, again, we talked about the things that you need to do before you apply for business credit. These are very, very important, because what happens is oftentimes is that people will try to apply for business credit and they will get denied, but they don't know why they were denied. And it's because a lot of these things may not have been in place. So we're just going to recap really quickly. Not going to spend a lot of time on it, because again, you will have this business credit checklist and just utilize it. One, we talked about making sure that you have a business name. Very, very crucial. Make sure you have a business name, and also that you do your due diligence to make sure that no other organization has your business name. Remember, I shared with you what happened with someone that I knew, where they had a situation where they did not do their due diligence, established a business name, and someone already had it. So they had to go back and spend all this money on marketing and everything to make changes. You definitely don't want to do that. Make sure your location. If you do not have a brick and mortar, because a lot of people now, they have home-based businesses, and that's a really good thing, because you can, when you get with your accountant, there's some things that you can actually write off if you do have a home-based business. But I will encourage you to not use your home address. You can use a virtual office. Make sure that's done. Set up your business. What entity do you want? Again, last week we focused on the different types of entities, and some of you, it's perfectly okay for you to start out as a sole proprietorship. That's going to be your least expensive entry into starting a business. However, just make sure that you consider any type of liability. Like, let me give you an example. If I have a lawn care business, or I was doing some type of contract work where I was, working with tools or a lawn care service. We'll go back to lawn care service. And I had people working for me. I will be very hesitant about having a sole proprietorship and having people working for me. And let me explain. If you are mowing someone's lawn or doing whatever services, and then one of your employees get hurt and you're up under a sole proprietorship, that puts you at risk. And that person, your employee, can sue you, and if they can easily have access to your personal assets, your home. You can lose everything, literally the shirt off your back. So be mindful of any type of liability. There's probably a low risk. You can stick to sole proprietorship and build from there. Get your business license. Very, very critical. You will check with your local state and find out what is the process. Next, I need you to go and get your employee ID number. This is important because your employee ID number is your social security number for your business. And that way, again, going back to how your business is structured, nothing's tied to your social. So your debt to income ratios and things like that are not impacted on the personal side, because everything is in your business name. You can start establishing credit in your business name. Next, need a business bank account. That is important as well. Right now, I'm partnering with some local lending institutions and banks, and they actually will work with people across the country. So I can definitely share those resources. But when I'm having these conversations with them, guess what they're telling me? That they'll have people that have different things in order, but they do not have business bank accounts. And guess what? They cannot fund a business with utilizing a personal bank account. So we don't want these simple things to be a hindrance for us and prevent us from moving to the next step. Business phone number, a website, and also registering with 411. All of these things are hyperlinks, folks. So again, you do not have to concern yourself with knowing all of the information, because you have this simple checklist that will help you. So now that we've kind of recapped last week the things that we discussed to get your business house in order, now I want to move to the second phase and talk to you about some other things, because now we're getting into the sauce. And I want to get you ready so you can start applying for business credit. All right. Let me go back to my slides. And can you guys see the my slide? It says business credit score reporting agencies. Can you see that?
No, it says you are not signed in. Sign in with Google.
Okay. Let's see here. What about now?
Yep, there you go.
Sweet. I told you, I'm prepared. So now that you have all these things in place, I want to talk to you a little bit about the different types of agencies that report business credit scores. What is a good credit score? I'm going to talk to you about the 4 major business credit scores: Dun & Bradstreet, Experian, Equifax, and FICO. We're going to focus on really the top 3. Dun & Bradstreet has what is called a paydex score. Dun & Bradstreet is over 170 years old, and they actually collect data. Now, Experian has the credit ranking and telescore, and also Equifax have their own. You're noticing something here. Equifax and Experian, you also have a personal score with it. So that's on the other side of the house, whereas this is business credit. Totally different, even though the same organization, but they have different functions. Notice over here in the right-hand side, paydex score looks like you need a 80 or above, Experian and Equifax. So in order for you, just like on the personal side, in order for you to be able to establish business credit or to actually get your score to increase, you have to have credit in order to build credit, if that makes sense. Same concept that's on the personal side. So this is just to give you an idea of where you, what is a good business credit score in terms of you're getting approved when you're starting completing applications. And then I'll unpack that. I want to talk to you a little bit about a bank rating score. Probably something that most people have never heard of. Here's the, we always want to position ourselves to be able to work with banks and lending institutions. All your bank rating scores that it's made up of how much money you keep in your account and the activity over a 3-month period. All I want you to understand is this: make sure you have more deposits coming in than you have withdrawals. And also, the better your bank rating score, the higher likelihood that you will be able to apply for a loan at that particular organization or receive a business credit card. Look to the chart here on the right. Notice that depending on the amount of funds that is in your bank, that's how you are given a bank rating score. So it's several things that lending institutions will look at. Not only will they look at your personal credit score, most are wanting a 680 or above. They're looking at your financials for the last 2 years. They're looking at how much money you're keeping in your account. You have more coming in than going out. All of these are factors because it plays directly into the interest rate that you will be given, and also if the loan will be approved or not. So please keep in mind, if you are looking to go to a lending institution, specifically a bank, and you're wanting to get a bank loan, be very strategic. If you know that you have a lot of funds coming in and out, making a lot of withdrawals within a 3-month window, that probably is not the good time or the best time to apply for that bank loan. But then you can apply during another period. So again, building business credit is a strategy. I want to talk to you about why business credit card applications are denied. I remember, and I may have shared this with last week, but I remember that I had a friend of mine call, and her husband were denied for business credit. But what happened is that they applied for business credit, and they applied for business credit, and they didn't quite know what the reason was. And it probably was because that checklist that I provided to you, something on there they did or did not do. Let me go back and get, going back to, yes, here we go. Why are they denied? Oftentimes, they're not able to verify your business with the Secretary of State. Remember, I just shared with you that you have to register your business and or receive a business license from the state. If you're not listed in the 411 directory. Now, am I saying that your application will be denied because you're not listed in the 411 directory? No, that's not what I'm saying. But again, you want to put your best foot forward and be able to and decrease your chances of being denied. Sometimes if you do not have credit history, depending on what type of account that you have. Let me give an example. If you went out and you tried to apply for a business gas card or some type of business credit card, you're probably going to be denied because you don't have any credit history. That's why I'm going to walk you through the steps today to show you of different accounts that you can open prior to that. So when you are able to get those types of lines of credit, you're ready to move forward. Sometimes if you're not in business a long time, that may impact the type of access to credit you will have. Now, I will say this, notice in parentheses that I have non-cash cards. What do I mean by that? The strategy that I'm going to give you today is that you will be able to apply for business lines of credit. And I'm going to provide you with some organizations that will work with you if you do not have a credit history and not necessarily have a business that have been in business for a long time. Did you hear what I just said? You don't necessarily have to be in business for a long period of time with some of these organizations. However, it's a non-cash card because you can only use that line of credit at that particular company. Now, that may be fine and dandy starting out, but if you are needing access to get equipment, or if you're needing access to a line of credit where you need cash, that's not going to help you. Is your business name verifiable? Can they verify it? Are there any discrepancies in how your organization appears across all agencies? That's going to be very critical. Depending on what your state is and what type of business you have, you may have to register your business in different and receive different types of permits and things of that sort. Like, as an example, if you have a business where you have a restaurant or a food truck, you may not only have to get your business license, but you may have to register with the health department to get specific permits. And what I mean is that make sure that you are registering it exactly the same. As an example, your tax ID may list your company as XYZ Cleaning, and the forms filed for your employee ID number might be X ampersand Y and Z. That is critical because remember, they're looking at it and you want it to appear, you don't want it to appear that this is a different organization. Does your employee ID number and your business name, do they match? And I shared this before, had a situation where I spoke to some veterans, and one of the participants, she was applying for some funding, but her EIN and the business name didn't match. So guess what? That application is probably going to be denied. Are you in good standing? People may not realize that there are fees, particularly if you have an LLC and different types of paperwork that has to be filed every year. I always tell my clients, put this information on your calendar or somewhere that you can get some type of notification and reminders, because if these fees are not paid, or if your organization is not in good standing, you can be denied applications. Do you owe any taxes or any other fees? I know here annually we have to pay taxes on our fees, on our organizations, and that there might be some differences in depending on where people are located. But again, make sure you are mindful of these, because all of these things can cause your application to be denied. Remember, the people that are checking your application, they don't know you. So it's important for you to be able to put the best foot forward so they can look at your application and say, okay, they have this in place, because they have people that are checking to be able to, so you have all these things in place, and it increases your chances of getting approved. A little bit more about why applications are being denied. Just moving some things around here. What if your information on the application is not accurate? Maybe the income is not correct. You've missed out some supporting documents. You did not include them. Or if you leave spaces that are blank, I always tell people put NA, not applicable. Do not leave spaces blank, even if they do not apply to you. Again, that may not prevent you from being denied, but we're going to put our best foot forward. Are your financials solid? Lending institutions and different places, they're going to look at your accounting records. I tell people all the time that if you do not have an accounting system in place, please make the investment. You do not have to, you may want to hire a bookkeeper. You may not be able to hire an accountant, but let them help you get it set up. And or you can use Wave, QuickBooks, that will put everything in place, because it's so important, especially if you're applying for things, because you can generate financial documents in a matter of seconds. Something that I see quite often is that people commingle funds. They may have a personal and a business bank account, but they are making charges that should be personal in the business and vice versa. Banks and lending institutions, they don't want to deal with all of that. So the more you can keep things clean, it's going to increase your chances of getting these loans that we spoke of. Banks typically require 2 years of financial documents. And again, I'm meeting with lending institutions all the time, and they're sharing with me these things that they're seeing. They don't want to sort through that. So if we can keep it as clean as possible, that works to our benefit. But not only that, if you're ever audited by the IRS, you're going to have a lot of explaining to do. So what I tell folks is that if you want to access money out of your business for something personal, what you do is you make a withdrawal, and or you can either transfer it to your personal account, and that way it is not you're not using your business bank account for personal use. When you're applying for different lines of business and credit cards, make sure you space it out. I would not recommend that you applying for things back to back. As an example, you may want to apply for different types of lines of credit a couple of weeks apart. Also, if you have a negative credit history, these net accounts that I'm going to introduce you to, make sure that you pay them on time. In fact, I will recommend that you pay them at minimum about 7 days or so, prior to the due date, because this is how you're going to establish credit. They're going to give you credit even as you're starting out. They'll give you business lines of credit, but your paying on time is going to be critical. Please, if anyone have any questions, let me know. Now, I want you to look through the eyes of the lender. This is what they're looking at. This is an actual paydex score by Dun & Bradstreet. This is how their credit report looks, or let's just say a segment of it. Now, I want us to look at this and remember, put yourself in the shoes of the lender who's extending this company credit. Look at the at-a-glance summary. Look in the upper left quadrant. Look in the upper left quadrant. Look at it.
We're having a hard time hearing you.
This company has probability is significant. They have a high level of financial stress. They're at a 4. Look at that red triangle. Now let's look to the right. The credit score, high. The likelihood that this company will not pay on time over the next 12 months, it's at a 4 as well. Now look in the bottom lower quadrant. This talks about the payment history and trends. Their paydex score is 73, which is meaning that it's not a bad score, but they pay slow. They don't pay on time. So this says that they will typically that they're going to pay, by looking at this snapshot, that the company is going to experience financial stress. The company will probably not pay in the next 12 months on time, and then the payment is going to be slow. Now, in your mind, would you extend this company a line of credit? Probably not. Because you are, and this is the things that they are looking at. So again, look at everything through the lens of the creditor. Now I want to switch gears. Look over here to the right. We know that this company is called Fast Facts, Gorman Manufacturing. Their financials are fair. Look up under company stats. Now, here's the deal. This company still may receive funds, but guess what? More than likely, if they do receive funds, they're going to have a higher interest rate. So it does not mean that they will not fund them. But again, we want to put the best foot forward. So this is what they will look at. Now let's get into the sauce. I want to talk to you about tiered accounts. Tiered accounts are accounts that are given when you're first starting out to build business credit, particularly in tier 1. Tier 1 accounts, they know that you do not have established business credit, but they're like, you know what? We're going to go ahead and extend you a line of credit because we know that you are trying to build business credit. So notice here, Crown Office Supply, Uline, Granger, a lot of these organizations are similar to your Office Max or your Office Depots. Think of it this way. And I want people to have a mindset shift in terms of how they're using business credit. These are things that you are already purchasing in your business anyway, but you're paying for them probably either with cash and out of your bootstrapping or your personal finances. So I'm not asking you to spend more money than you already have been. That's not what we're doing here. What I'm suggesting is that let's have a mindset shift. You can open up these lines of credit, buy the things that you've already been paying for with cash out of your personal funds, but you're utilizing it through the line of credit to build business credit. Let me give you an example. If you have we're going to go back to the lawn service. And if you apply for a line of credit with Granger, there are going to be specific things that you're going to need in your business. You're buying them anyway, whether it might be gloves or you may need supplies for, like when you're printing out or you're sending invoices or what have you. You can still utilize the business credit to access those things you need and build a business credit score. So notice I have these different companies and you see who and what companies they report to. I always recommend that you choose companies or lines of credit that are reporting to business credit bureaus. If you open up a line of credit, before you even apply for a line of credit, make sure that it reports to the business credit bureau, especially if that is your goal to build business credit. It may not be your goal, but if that's your ultimate goal, you definitely want to do that. So these are some of the places that they will actually apply to. They are some of the places that you can apply to. And what I will recommend is go through and see which companies align with what you are trying to, what you need to buy. And again, these are not all of the tier 1 net 30 vendors. What does that mean? This is an entry level where you can come in and start establishing business credit. And then once they extend you a line of credit, whatever you choose or how much you charge on that line of credit or bill to it is due in 30 days. That's all that means. Google net 30 vendors, tier 1 net 30 vendors. And you will pull up additional ones. So there may be others that might be a better fit for you, but these are some of the main ones. I think I'm going backwards. So I want to talk to you about how to go about applying to these net 30 vendors. It is so simple. Remember, you did everything on the checklist and got that in place before you start doing this. You're going to visit their website and create a customer account. Space your applications out maybe every couple of weeks or so. If you go on the website, you may see this something as simple as net 30. You may see a link that says place your order, bill me, net 30. You'll see something along those lines. Again, going back to that checklist, a lot of them will ask for your DUNS number, EIN, your business name, and your address. Some may ask for more information, and others may ask for less. Go ahead and select the application, and then if no upfront money is required, they may give you a line of credit like $100 or $200, and then you place a very small order. I want you to understand that a lot of times these vendors, they still have they have annual fees or application fees. So not only are you placing a small order, but you may have to pay another fee as well. So be mindful of that. Then you're going to pay the invoice, like I said, approximately 5 to 7 days prior to the bill being due. You don't want to pay it too soon because it may not report. Keep in mind that business credit does not report like personal credit, and it's not regulated the same. So that's why I also provided you with an Excel spreadsheet so you can start documenting the different organizations that you are, or the companies that you're applying for credit for. So you remember T-Mobile always had, they had this thing many years ago, Fab Five. Coach Starnes, I have my faves. Nav. What do I love Nav, and it's nav.com, nav.com. Nav has a product that's called Business Boost. It's $39.99. It reports to all 3 credit bureaus, and you will have access to your personal and your business credit. Why do I like Nav? Because Nav also is a trade line. You're going to hear those words used synonymously: line of credit and trade line. So you're getting the bang for your buck. Not only are you able to, it's helping you build business credit, so it's helping you build, and you're able to see all of the different, you're able to see, and with 3 credit bureaus, all the lines of credit that you have. Also, NAV will do funding as well. So you get all of those different things. Crown. I love Crown office supplies as well, because you can get different things through Crown. Crown is similar to your Office Max and your Home Depots. It reports to all 3 credit bureaus, and they have a $99 annual fee. Remember, I just shared with you that you will, not only will you have to make purchases every month, in fact, because you have to give it time to start reporting, but you may be required by that organization to pay an annual fee as well. So keep that in mind. Shirtsy. I like Shirtsy because Shirtsy, you can order marketing materials. So say, for instance, if you wanted like cups, if you wanted pins, shirts, different things like that, for marketing materials, you can use Shirtsy. You have to be in the United States. You can be in business less than 90 days, and they need your employee ID number. Shirtsy reports to Experian and Equifax, and there's a $99 enrollment fee. Uline, very similar to, again, your Office Max and things like that. Uline has a personal, they will not use your personal credit, and then it reports to Dun & Bradstreet and Experian. And then you have Creative Analytics. It reports to Equifax. You must be in business for 30 days. So these are just some of the ones that you can use to start applying for business credit. Again, I always recommend that you do a Google search, and then you see what aligns best with you and for the business that you have and what you're trying to do. Next, before you move on to tier 2 vendors, you should have a score of 75 or higher. How are you going to check that score? That's why I recommended nav.com, particularly Business Boost, because before you start applying and going to the next tiers, you need to make sure that you have a certain credit score, because again, we don't want you denied. So before you move from tier 1 vendors and move into the tier 2, make sure that you have a 75 business credit score or better. And you can apply for 2 to 3 lines of credit in tier 1. Then make your move. It's always a good rule of thumb is to, before you apply for a tier 2 vendor, and you'll see what I'm speaking of in just a second. Sometimes they want you to have several trade lines. So if a company wants you to have 4 trade lines before you apply, you only have 3, don't apply, because you're probably going to get denied, especially if that's something that is very true for their company. I like National Tire and Battery. Amazon. Who doesn't order stuff from Amazon? They have a net 30 account, meaning that you can have to pay it in 30 days. BP, which is a gas card. Sam's. Everybody can use something at Sam's. You can get tires there for your vehicles. You can get food, just different things. Dell has a revolving account. You may need a new tablet. Shell, gas station, Best Buy, and Amazon have what is called a net 55, meaning that the bill is due in 55 days. So these are some of your tier 2 accounts, not all of them. Again, see what aligns best for you and your company and what you're needing. Always do your research, always. Again, some of Coach Starnes' Fab Five. Shell, a gas card. You'll be approved for about $500. It reports to Dun and Bradstreet and Experian. And what I love about Shell gas cards is that Shell oftentimes they have a mechanics there on staff. So you might be in a situation where you need something worked on in your vehicle. You can use it as well. Axle Fuel card. These are your pilot and Flying J's. They report to Dun and Bradstreet and Experian, and they'll verify your business information. Amazon business card. Look, it reports to all three bureaus, but you must be in business for 3 years. And remember, I shared it before. They want you to have at least 5 trade lines. Next, I recommend Sam's business credit card. So what you're going to find is that a lot of these organizations, they have different types of business credit cards. I have a Walmart business credit card. And again, I like it because I'm able to, Walmart sells everything. Sam reports to Dun and Bradstreet and Equifax. They will verify your business through the 411 directory. Remember, going back to the original business checklist that I spoke about. These things are important. They want you to have 4 trade lines that are already reporting, and look at your paydex score, 70 or above. And then Best Buy have what is called a business advantage account. Best Buy sells everything. So this is something that I recommend for my top 5. And again, see what works best for you. Now that we have talked about, there's actually more than several other tiered accounts, but I'm focusing on, for this introductory class, I'm focusing on tier 1 and tier 2. But I want to switch gears and I want to talk to you about revolving business lines of credit. The accounts that I previously just spoke to you about, you can only use those accounts at those particular organizations, meaning non-cash. That's what I mean by non-cash cards. You can't pull any cash out of them. You can't use them anywhere else. Now I want you to keep in mind, let's look at revolving business lines of credit. What does that mean? Meaning you're going into a lending institution and you're able to get either a business credit card or a business line of credit, meaning access to cash that you can use anywhere. Before you move into this, you have to do the things that I just shared before to build your score up. Now, once you've built your business credit score, you can apply for business lines of credit to have access to cash. About us 80 or above, you're going to follow the same steps as a net 30, because now oftentimes you can apply for these lines of credit with banks online. If you're applying for these revolving accounts, space them out a few months apart. And what I tell people is this: make sure that you have a purpose for these cards. So depending on what your business is, you may have one for travel, you may have another business credit card for equipment or a specific division of your company. It just depends on what you need. And that way you're keeping things separate. And determine how. It's always good. What I share with clients is this: make sure that you are keeping track of this information. I'll be very honest with you, it can get a bit overwhelming if you're trying to manage 5 or 6 or 7 different lines of on the business side, or trade lines, and then you also have your personal that you're trying to juggle as well. That's why the vendor checklist is going to be very critical. Make sure that you know what you're using for and being able to manage this. And I'm going to tell you this: once you start building business credit, you're going to have companies seeking you out, telling you that, sending you letters or pre-approval letters. You have access to $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, is be very mindful of managing this, because I've seen also on the other, it could be a good thing, it could be a double-edged sword, where people, all these funds are thrown at them, and it gets very exciting. And then they start getting approved and applying to all these different lines of credit. And the next thing you know, you have tens or tens of thousands of dollars in business lines of credit, but you don't have a game plan. That's why it's going to be critical that you come back to Nick and Mandy and the team, and before, create a plan, a game plan, not only of how you will use the funds, but how you're going to pay it back. That's going to be critical. Some of these organizations, you may have to prove yourself. Going back to those net 30 accounts, you have to prove yourself, and then they will give you access to these cash cards. So this is access to cash. The others, the tiered accounts, is non-cash. So to make sure that there's a clear distinction between those. If anyone has any questions, feel free to come off mute and jump right in.
We actually do have one question so far.
Yes, ma'am.
Someone is asking about how to get the DUNS, knowing that the DUNS number is changing over to a different source. So how would you apply for that?
You will still go to their website. I have the link in the on the business credit checklist. You will still go to the website, and then you will apply using that link.
And just so everyone knows, we did put handouts into the webinar, so you should have access to the business credit checklist also.
And it's a hyperlink, so you will be able to access it. Just out of curiosity, are the people that are attending, are any of you business owners, or are you starting your business? Where are you on your journey? And you can come off mute if you want, or put it in the chat. And the only reason I ask is that I really want you to come up with a game plan of, and actually, whether it's mentally or you write it down somewhere, what are you needing in your business? You may need a vehicle. I'm working with someone now, and they need a one of those, like, is it called Sprint, or those vans, the larger type vans? They need that. So I'm helping them put a plan in place so they can get that, build business credit, so they can put that vehicle in their name. Another company that I'm working with has a lawn care business, and he needs a larger truck. So you can actually get all of these things in your business name, but it has to make sense.
So it looks like we have one starting a business and one who just started a business.
Perfect. So this webinar is for you. Make sure, if you weren't on the first one, go back and look at the first part one, because it gives details about the things that you need to do before you start applying for business credit. And I'm excited for you, because entrepreneurship is definitely a way to close the wealth gap. Now, here's another thing. Move this over here. Unsecured business financing. I want to share with you, you can go to TikTok University, Facebook, also on YouTube, and you will hear different people promoting, oh, you can get business credit with bad personal credit, and they're absolutely right. But they're not giving you all the pieces of the puzzle. So we have to be mindful of the things that we're looking at and we're taking in. And let me explain. They're absolutely right. Yes, you can get personal credit. You can't get business credit and have poor personal credit. But what they're not sharing with you is that you're limited to the types of accounts that you can actually open and the trade lines. Remember, I spoke to you about the non-cash cards? the tier accounts 1 and 2, those accounts you can only use at those organizations. It's nothing wrong with them, but if you have a 680 score, credit score or lower, you're going to be limited to those type of accounts, especially until you start establishing business credit. And then if you are extended, once you start building, and you still have a lower credit score, and if you are extended a line of credit, your interest rates will probably be higher. So we're going to switch gears. I want you to know that personal credit is vital because lenders look at your ability to be able to manage your personal finances as a direct reflection as what you're going to do in your business. But if you have a 680 credit score or better, there are lending institutions that you can walk and banks that you can walk into right now and not even necessarily have credit history and be able to access a business line of credit. It's going to have a positive impact on your interest rates. Your interest rates are going to be lower because remember, they're looking at risk. They're looking at risk. Lending institutions will want 2 years of financials. You don't necessarily need a collateral. You'll hear the term PG, personal guarantee. Some organizations will require a personal guarantee. Depending on how you set up your business account, meaning an LLC, your assets cannot be seized. I gave you an example earlier about examine the risk in the business that you have. You might be perfectly okay with setting up a sole proprietorship just to get yourself, your feet wet and get yourself established. But if you are in a situation where there's a high liability, where someone can get hurt or you could be sued, you might want to go the structure, set up, do something different as it relates to your structure and set up a corporation. Again, it's easy to get these non-cash cards, gas, tiered accounts, if you have poor personal credit. So if you're in a situation where you have some issues with your personal credit, Nick and or Mandy may have some resources, but Nick and Mandy, I can share with you a resource that I have offline that is free and is through a reputable organization. So if anybody needs that information with their personal credit, please reach out to them, put it in the comments, or just send them an email, and I'll make sure you have it because they go hand in hand. Does anybody have any questions about the secured financing? Unsecured financing.
I'm not saying any right now.
Okay. Other alternative funding opportunities. If you have run your business through Square and PayPal, they have the ability to extend you a business line of credit or actually cash. What they will do is that they will look at your financials and then you will be given, have access up to a certain amount based on what you have coming in. And then they will automatically withdraw the funds out of your PayPal account and or Square. This is an option for people that maybe need access to some funds right away, and maybe you are not in a position where you can get a line of credit, a business line of credit where you can access cash. Wells Fargo has a product and actually a secured business credit card. What do I mean by secured business credit card? I mean that you will have to have some skin in the game, meaning that Wells Fargo, they will take up to $25,000 of your money. It reports to business credit bureaus and they will allow you, that is collateral. So in the event that you default on that, they at least have your money up front, but they're using it to build business credit. Wells Fargo reports to the business credit bureaus. Square, PayPal, and Cabbage does not. Cabbage is the same option as well. They have access to capital as well, funds as well. But what I will share with you is this. Please be mindful with these alternative funding opportunities. Be very mindful of the interest rates. I have a business owner that I'm working with, and she uses PayPal, the funds. She used one of the funding opportunities through PayPal, and did not realize because she has cash coming. She has really great cash flow, but she didn't realize like the interest and how much she's actually paying. So I was sharing with her is, listen, I understand in the beginning that was something that you may have needed, but now let's focus on your personal credit, build up your, and while we'll also work simultaneously working on your business credit, so you do not have to use these different organizations. Nothing's wrong with them, but again, your interest rates are going to be higher. So just be mindful of those things. Words to the wise. Vendors change their parameters. That's why I said that before you decide you want to build business credit, and before you decide, make sure you research what companies work best for you. All you would have to do is do a Google search, tier 1, tier 2 vendors, tier 3, or what have you, and then see what works best for you. And then you can make an informed decision on which ones. But I did give you several recommendations. Pay your invoices before the due date. You always want to ask a company when and how often they report. Remember, all of them do not report. And if that's not your end game, your end goal, you just need the access to that line of credit. That's perfectly okay. Keep making purchases, because in order to build business credit, you got to spend money. You got to make purchases, because that reporting is what's going to help build your business credit score. You can also do, if credit is not extended, you can do cash transactions. Say, for instance, if there is a company that you, as an example, if you have you're a contractor and you do flooring, you may go to a local company that has a flooring, ask them would they open up an account with you, and then you make cash transactions. When they see that you're paying on time and you're using cash, then they can convert that account to a business line of credit, but make sure that they report to the business credit bureaus. Reporting information may not necessarily appear right away. Remember, this is business credit. It is not regulated the same as on the personal side. You have the Fair Credit Reporting Act and different things like that regulates on the personal side. Business credit, not at all. In fact, if someone wants to access if you have business credit or starting to build, if they want to access your business credit report, they can do it now. Whereas on the personal side, that's not the case at all. I can't just go and say, hey, I want to access Nick's personal credit. That's not going to happen. Taxes. Please, please, please do not find you a good accountant and do not write everything off. I see this happen a great deal with small business owners, and they write everything off, or allow their accountants to write everything off on their taxes, and then the following year they are trying to expand their business or they need something, and they do not have enough income reported to be able to qualify for what it is they need. Reporting is not free. You can actually, what I suggest is that nav.com, the business boost, that gives you access to Equifax, Experian, as well as Dun & Bradstreet. So you'll be able to see the companies and they're reporting to those different organizations, and you'll be able to see your business credit scores. You do not have to report or get them accounts with them individually, because you will end up paying hundreds, if not thousands of dollars over the course of the year. So the $39.99, that's what I recommend. Record your purchases. Record the companies that you're working with. The vendors report at different times. Make sure that when you're going to banks and lending institutions, if they have a business credit card, please ask them before you apply for it, which credit bureau do you report to? And let me tell you why. What happens is that they are glorified credit cards. It's a personal credit card, but it has your business name on it. So if you go to a bank today and they give you a business credit card, if it appears on your personal credit, it is not a business credit card. Not at all. In fact, if you're on Facebook, or any of you on Facebook, what I'm seeing is that the business credit cards, there's an American Express that they have promoting. And remember, there are different types of American Express, but this particular one does not report to the Business Credit Bureau. You're going to get a lot of funds and a lot of different things thrown at you. Again, make sure that you manage it well. You have an end game in mind before you make any decisions. So I am wrapping up business credit. And does anyone have any questions about what I've discussed, whether it's the first or the second workshop?
So first of all, we're not seeing the DUNS hyperlink, but we can get that to you.
You said the DUNS hyperlink. Oh, let me go here. Let me go back to sharing, and then I will. It's on the checklist.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? It's on the. I can update this and send it to you, but it's in the slide deck. I'll put it on here. This is what I'll do. I will update this and then I will send it to you. But it's in the slide deck. I'll put it on this Build Your Business Credit Checklist. Is that okay?
Okay, sure. So we will get that out to all of our participants. And then I have one more question. What is the process should you see a credit reporting error on your business credit report?
You would contact that particular business credit bureau. So say, for instance, if it's on Dun & Bradstreet, you would contact them and then you will make them aware of that. You will make them aware of that error. And then there's an internal process that they will walk you through in terms, so you would dispute it just like you would on the personal side, but you would reach out to them. And that can very well happen because, again, they're not regulated on the personal side. That's a great question.
Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions. So thank you, Coach Starnes. We were so excited to have you here and to share this information with us. That's going to conclude.
You guys.
Yeah, thank you. That's going to conclude today's webinar, and I want to thank everyone for participating. Our next webinar is going to be for Small Business Week, which is Tuesday, May 3rd at 11, and we're going to cover small business resources for veterans. So, and I would also like to ask everyone to please complete the brief evaluation form that is going to appear in your browser when you leave the webinar. They help us to improve our webinar services. So thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope to see you next time.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.